It's the lady. She took his ring, took his lady, took your money, took your nowhere. Heaven knows she'd have taken nothing but all. She was the young American, young American, young American. She was the young American. She was the young American.
Welcome to our Live Music Society Q&A session. For those of you who have no idea who we are, my name is Bill Bunce, and this is my amazing wife, Cheryl Bunce.
Hello there.
And we are co-promoters of Off the Record. So together with Jason Spiewak from Noble Steed, we've been putting on Off the Record for 4 years now. And Jason and Cheryl and I got together because for the last 5 years, in addition to Off the Record, we've been promoting shows primarily in Purcellville, Virginia, in distilleries and breweries, so there is a theme there. And we like to take things that are typically not a music venue, like up here, and turn it into a music venue and bring in some great national touring artists. And after each show, what we would often do, almost always, is have the band back to our house and make dinner and sit down and have a meal with the band. And some of the conversations and experiences that happened there at our house were amazing, and we thought it would be fun to try and capture that. So that's where the Live Music Society came from. The original idea was we would have bands to our house. What we ended up doing is for the last 18 months, we've been going to Nashville, to Tony Lucca's house, who's in the back, up to Hartford, Connecticut, to Tim and Eric from the Alternate Roots, and we'd go to an artist's house, and we'd show up about noon and start cooking in their kitchen, and then about 6 o'clock at night, we'd have a meal. We released the first 5 episodes of what we call the Live Music Society on YouTube. You can also see it at the Live Music Society, or it's livemusicsociety.org. I like that .com was taken. We got .org because it's kind of a community, and you're all part of it. So what we thought we'd do today is introduce some friends of ours up on stage and do a little Q&A like we do around the dinner table.
One of the things that we have enjoyed so much about all of this is the artists never knew what was going to hit them. They didn't know what the actual menu was for the evening. They did not know what questions we were going to ask. And it was those dinner time conversations that just meant so much, I think, to all of us, to get to know them better, and actually a side of an artist that most of us do not get a glimpse into just by attending shows. So we wanted to ensure that our community was always growing and being provided an alternative to what our artists are all about. Their music is incredible. Their stories of their families are just amazing, and so we hope that you do go out and look at the series, and we certainly hope that you enjoy it.
Cool. So if I could ask Dan Monea, Paul Pfau, and Caleb Hawley, join us up on stage.
Hi guys.
Hi, how are ya?
Awesome.
First question is pretty straightforward, pretty easy one. What was the first CD, album, or maybe cassette tape that you bought?
This is kind of embarrassing for me, but it was Boomtown by Toby Keith.
Oh,
There you go.
how did that happen?
You know, he had this song, I don't know why, because I was like 9, but I was really into it. It went something about, that's my dog in my backyard, and it was about, it was a guy that had a divorce, and apparently it struck a chord to my 9-year-old self. And I really wanted that CD, so Boomtown.
Interesting. All right, Mr. Pfau.
Mine was 5 by Lenny Kravitz.
Way cool.
Yeah. I just thought he was like the ultimate rock star at the time.
Yeah.
Because like he's like such a showman, and
Yeah.
his tunes are great.
Yeah.
So like it cancels out. I
Yeah.
guess.
Y'all, I'm 34 years old, so we had
Cassette tape?
No, it was a CD. We had them CD clubs, you remember?
Oh,
sure.
buy for $1, you get 12.
You get suckered into all that stuff. So my favorite cassette tape that my parents always were playing when I was a kid was Boston. Loved it. I wanted to be Tom Schultz. Like, I wanted to play the guitar like that. It was awesome. So I ordered that CD, and they sent all these other ones. And I wore that CD out, but accidentally, I don't know how it happened, but I got Carole King Tapestries with that first order.
Oh, but that's a brilliant
and
one.
so, like, right at the same time, like, those two CDs, like, the inner wannabe rock star kid in me was learning all those guitar riffs. And at the same time, I was like, man, I really want to write songs like that. So those two are tied for me.
Nice.
That's awesome. Very cool. So my next question is, talk to me about music in your house growing up. Sometimes your parents might be musicians, and sometimes they're not at all. And somehow you got into music.
For me, my parents were just huge music fans. They always loved music. I mean, everything from, you know, rock to singer-songwriter to a little bit of country, and there's always music playing 24 hours a day in my house. And so they made me take piano lessons from the time I was 3 years old, and that's where it started.
It's kind of the same thing. My parents listened to great music, mostly that Southern California, like folk rock stuff, Eagles and Tom Petty. Those from Florida. It's okay.
We'll forgive him.
Yeah, no, and Beatles, and also a lot of blues. Eric Clapton, one of my favorites. My grandmother was a piano player, and she listened to a lot of jazz music, so grew up with a lot of Sinatra and Louis Armstrong and stuff like that too. So all that stuff kind of, I always wanted to be Clapton, and then as I got more into it, I fell more in love with jazz and songwriting.
My parents they were kid singers, so they sang like libraries in northern Minnesota. So I suppose that was like a bit of an influence. They basically, I mean, they didn't write their own music or anything, but they did like, they like basically, I guess we're like a Raffi cover band. I don't know if you know Raffi. But,
Yeah.
it's pretty great. So he's also a big influence, him and Toby. So I would say that was probably a big influence on me as far as, you know, from a young age watching people perform in that way.
Your lipstick is on my pillowcase, and I'll just leave it to remind me of a time when you were mine.
Cool. All right. So normally at dinner, the first course is getting to know you. So I think we know you a little better now.
Cool.
The second course is questions that make you think. Just about, could be about anything. So here's my first question. It said that people admire rich people, but they love an artist. Would you rather be rich or loved?
Definitely loved. I know that for a fact because I just never been in this for money. There's just no way I would have done what I've done for the last 10 years if I ran it for money. So I've never cared, but I can tell you what brings me joy is having people at a show, and what gets me down is having two people. If those two people give me a ton of energy, I will love those two people. But it can be a little disheartening. So yeah. So I know it's never been about the money for me.
Come on, Dan. Tell me you just want to be rich.
I do.
Just want to be
Yeah,
rich.
yeah.
Why else would they have a song?
I've been working really, really hard to write that song and sell the shit out of it. It's not exactly true, but I mean, I'd be willing to give it a shot. You know, I've never had any money at all. I've been very poor the entire time I've been playing music, but I've been rich with love.
Awesome.
Cue the track.
Would you rather meet your great-great-grandparents or your great-great-grandchildren?
Exactly the reaction we wanted.
Yeah. I'm really interested in history. You know, I love, digging into family heritage and family trees and things like that. Plus, I have no idea if I'm ever going to have kids. I don't know, but I love history, so I'd say great-grandparents. It's cool to see where you came from. Should I say that?
As you can probably tell from my Snapchat glasses, I want to know my great-grandkids, or great-great, is it two greats?
Great.
I want to see what kind of glasses they'd be wearing. Maybe they won't even be like real humans anymore. Maybe they'll have like little robot arms. But I think that'd be exciting to see. I think the past is great too. I love history. But I'm super curious as to what's going to happen in the future. So I'd say great grandkids.
With Paul, I'd like to see my great-great-grand robots.
Every once in a while, we throw in a little bit about ourselves. I was fortunate enough to grow up with 3 great-grandparents still alive and made it through almost my high school graduation. So for me, now that we have children old enough, well, I know I do, to have babies, that I think I would really like to see what they're going to be as far as great-great-grandchildren. Plus it means, yeah, I'm going to have a little extended lifetime.
Oh, get a room at the Claridge.
All right, so those are questions that make you think. The third course is always questions just about the music business in general. Has American Idol and The Voice been good for music or bad for music?
Loaded.
Yeah.
By the way,
I think-
Caleb Hawley was on American Idol and
Yeah.
Paul was on The Voice.
I guess I would have to say bad. It just feels like it's kind of watered down to a point. You know, it's less about the art and more about the, you know, I guess the judges and stuff like that. I mean, that I feel like when it comes from more of a commercial place, like the way they're pushing it, it's gonna be like that other question about more about money rather than art, and therefore you're gonna sacrifice some of the quality, in my opinion.
I think like it used to be better than it is now. I mean, I think it's a TV show, and I think TV is TV. It's entertainment. It's a spectacle. I think back in the day when Kelly Clarkson and the bigger names, I think that have come from those shows, the internet wasn't as like big of a thing. Like there wasn't Vine, where Shawn Mendes came from. There wasn't Snapchat. There wasn't Instagram. So when it came to discovering artists, I feel like it was still a little bit more. There was like an emotional aspect to it then. Now, like you can just open up your computer or your phone and scroll, and you're gonna see someone singing something because one of you guys reposted a live Facebook of this, you know, something like that. So I think it's less valuable today, but I mean it's TV.
Hope the world sees the same person that you always were to me. And may all your favorite bands stay together.
So this is going to be our last question. Our friend Taylor Carson was telling us that he writes music, or he writes songs for him, but the day they get released, he doesn't own them anymore. They become the fans. They become the community. Have you had a song that, you know, after you released it, it had a life of its own? It just turned, you know, the meaning of it became something else.
Yeah, for me, that's happened a couple of times where, for whatever reason, you know, I wrote this song and it comes from a place to me, and then when we put it out into the universe, it just takes on a different meaning for people, and I love that. That's what it's all about for me. When somebody, you know, messages you in the middle of the night and says, I just listened to your song again and it made me cry, and it's because it makes me think of this, and you know, it should be personal. You know, all growing up, you know, the songs that really impacted me, I had no idea what most of them were about, but it just meant something to me at the time. That it made me a commonality to place my anger or my fear of something, or just this, oh my God, I want to love someone like that person, you know, loves someone. And so, yeah, I mean, that's, to me, that's the ultimate good that you can do, is release your song and let it become to someone else. You know, that's what you're hoping for. Let it become what they needed.
Again, this is one of those questions, like, I agree with everything that Dan said. This song actually that I released today, the I See the World tune, I wrote it initially for my parents, and how, you know, I'm like the, you know, the, what do they call it? I'm just like the one that's totally the black sheep, I guess, in the family. And so I wrote this song just talking about, like, I see the world differently than you, but like I still love you, and it's like totally cool.
Yep.
And then when we went to Guatemala for a mile trip in December, it became a totally different thing. And just like, it was like, I can't communicate with this person, and I see the world totally different from this person. And just seeing how that can kind of, those things can kind of change. You write it with one intention, and then it kind of continues to take life of its own. So, absolutely agree with you.
Absolutely.
For me, I'd say like it hasn't been necessarily like someone's like a release a song and then people hear it as something totally different. That really, I guess that I don't feel like that's happened a lot, but I have had it where like maybe songs I haven't thought about for years, or songs that I look back and I'm like, wow, that was a terrible, terrible song. That people will come up to me and want to hear that song. And I always find that to be unique and really cool, because it's like, man, this thing that I've totally grown apart from and don't feel connected to in any way is still connecting to somebody. It's cool.
Well, I think just to kind of wrap this into our experience, Bill and I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. We don't play instruments. We have ideas, and we try to bring our passion to life, and that's kind of what we've done through the Live Music Society and across everything else we've been doing for the past few years. But I saw on Facebook, somebody asked, what do you like more, the lyrics or the music? And I found that just a troubling question, because it's going to depend on what gets under your skin or gives you the goosebumps. Sometimes it's the instrumental part of it that just grabs you, and it doesn't matter what the artist is saying, you just love it. Other times, based on whatever's going on, it's those lyrics. I mean, you just know it's something you can respond to and assimilate to, and I think that that's what we find most intriguing across all the bands that we've ever seen, and especially the ones that we're closer to. You want to wrap us up, and then we'll take Tony?
Thanks.
All right, you want me to do it?
Crushed it.
So what we're going to do is we're going to thank Caleb and Paul and Dan so much for doing this with us. As you know, we're filming, and this is going to become our season finale. We appreciate all of you being very attentive and participating, and we are going to say goodbye to the three of you and thank you very much. And we're going to bring up Mr. Tony Lucca.
You guys are all smoochy face. I love it.
So we want to welcome Mr. Tony Lucca.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Episode number 2.
Nashville.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what's awesome is you guys are talking about the music and Live Music Society, but what you failed to mention really is the cooking portion of the show. For those of you that don't know, the Bunces are culinary freakazoids. They're really impressive chefs and cooks, and they've got an incredible collection of recipes and a history, and it's as rich in layers as our musical experience is, and it's a large part of the show. Like, we watch it. When I was watching the episodes, obviously I don't need to see me talk about music, but watching them talk about food and getting the close-ups and the imagery of what goes into the food aspect of the show is every ounce as significant and meaningful. So kudos
Thank
to
you.
guys.
We appreciate that very much.
Was yours, It's Tennessee whiskey. Girl, you wanna see there's a strong mountain wine. Though it's warm as a glass of brandy. Honey, I'll stay strong. Oh, your love all the time. Gravity sparking against me.
So there's two extremely important people to us. We would not have been able to do this, period, if we did not have talent behind the camera. And they're always behind the camera, tirelessly.
While we eat. While we eat dinner, they get to watch us eat. And then if they're lucky, we save some, and then they get to eat it later.
So we want them to come out from behind the camera, and we want them to come here so that we can introduce them to you.
Come on, Dave. So, if it wasn't for these two guys, our Live Music Society would just be, you know, like watching slides from our vacations. So if it's entertaining at all, it's because Ernie loves slow motion. Everything can become amazing in slow motion. But sometimes he hangs off the side of the boat with a $20,000 camera and freaking the rest of us out. But so far we haven't lost any cameras.
So if you would please join us in giving them a huge round of applause and thanks for all they've done. And we thank each of you for supporting us. I know that we started releasing teasers and trailers, and now that it's live, we thank you for being part of this community that just continues to grow. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone. See you downstairs tonight.